Okay, it is 9:03 and I'm calling this meeting of the Public Works Committee to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chaplin, Desart, here. Hart, Ozark,
Here.
Tornatore,
Here.
Zane.
Here.
Okay, great. I don't have any remarks today. Do we have any public comment? No? All right. Next, I'd like to move for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any comments, questions about the minutes? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Meetings are approved. Okay. Budget transfers. I'm going to move for approval of facilities management budget transfer of $225,000, $145,000 for overtime salaries due to staff shortages in maintenance, housekeeping, and the power plant, $30,000 requested to cover the cost of miscellaneous small value equipment, $30,000 for repair parts, $10,000 for professional consulting services, and $10,000 for other consulting services. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions, comments about this item? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have 4 contract closes, and I'd like to move to combine items A, B, C, and D.
So moved.
Okay, second. All right. And next, I'd like to move to approve these contract closings. Contract closed with Excel Electric, Farnsworth Group, Metropolitan Industries, Lakeshore Recycling Systems.
Second.
Okay, and any comments, questions? Okay, all in favor of these contract closings? Aye. Aye. All right, great. Okay, next, I move to accept payment of claims.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. And next, our action items. Hold on just a minute here.
This is such a robust group today.
What's that?
This is such a robust group today.
Yes. Okay, our first action, I have 2 pages here that I'm working on, but now I have it right. Okay. I'd like to move for approval of PWR 035621, a resolution recommending the approval of a contract to Weatherproofing Technologies for roof restoration at various public works facilities for the period August 10th, 2021 through June 1st, 2022 for a total contract amount not to exceed $250,648.51. Contract pursuant to the Intergovernmental Cooperation Act.
Second.
Second. Any comments, questions about this item?
Just had a question. A couple of weeks ago, we approved another roofing contract for like $850,000. Is this in association with that?
Yeah, if you remember when we did that, this is the public works portion that we're moving forward, and it's planned all along, but great pricing. That was facilities management, and this is public works, same contract because it's on the national contract, but very happy with the work they've done, and we're excited to get the work done in public works as well.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Next up, I move for approval of PWR 035521, a resolution for the DuPage River Salt Creek Workgroup membership dues for 2021-22 in the amount of $279,825 to be cost shared in the amount of, excuse me, $34,147.68 to be paid by Stormwater Management and $245,677.32 to be paid by Public Works. Public work dues include a special condition fee for MPDES permits for IEPA, EPA.
Second.
Second, okay. And any comments, questions about this item? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now moving on to informational. Recommendation for EDP 032721, a recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to C3 GSM S07 GG10 Corporate Lakes 1 for rental of office space for the period September 1st, 2021 through May 31st, 2027 for workforce development for a contract total amount not to exceed $1,914,177. $1,914,177.
Second.
Okay. Any questions, comments about this item?
This is the,
Member Sard first.
thank you, Chairwoman Ozark. This is the contract that we asked to go back because the contract was way too long that the board developed.
Correct.
And so this is also being approved in economic development today as well.
The parent committee path is economic development. It's coming through here as informational. Lisa's on, yeah.
I just wonder what's so special about this contract that has to be approved in two committees.
It doesn't need approval
This is
here.
information.
Just
We
information.
brought it here because this one is kind of the oversight of all things leases and everything. We just like to keep you informed because like we did with election commission warehouse, anything having to do with facilities management being involved, we like to bring it here for you to see it. And that's the reason. And we did, you're right, the biggest concern before was when we brought it through way too long. I think it was 10 or 11 years. Yeah. We were able to secure still very good pricing, reduced it considerably, and in line. And so I know Lisa had some concerns with the longevity of some of the federal programs. I think, and she's on here to mention as well, I think she's much more comfortable with the length of this term as well. Lisa, is there anything I'm saying out of turn?
No, that's exactly correct. And fortunately, we were able to still secure really great terms, with this package here as well, including some rent abatement and things like that as outlined in the packet.
Okay. So I move to accept this as informational. Or I'm sorry, Mr. Member Zach.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lisa, this is about almost $320,000 a year. Is that what it comes out to? 6.5-year lease?
Correct. Yeah, I mean, on average, the breakdown is in there, and I believe, so for the first year, you can see 273. The first 6 months are abated, and then it, progressively averages out to in the 300,000s.
Okay, and you said they're doing renovation for you, that's included?
Correct. Yeah, we're also getting tenant improvement allowances to the tune of $411,450. Any of that is not expended on construction costs also goes towards rent abatement.
Any other questions? Okay, so I've moved to it, and do I have a second? Member Sard? Okay. So all in favor of accepting this information, say aye. Aye. Okay. Next, we move on to our presentations. We will start with the 2022 proposed public works budget.
Pass. Off the meeting numbers for sure. There's extra copies here if anybody else wants one. They want to shoot one.
Oh. I was like, where are she?
Sure. Okay, there's going to be 2 sections to this presentation. The first part is public works that Sean and I will cover. The second section will be facilities management that Tim will cover. Before I turn over to Sean, I just want to point out public works is an enterprise fund, and then facilities management is part of the general fund, just so you can understand where it all fits. Next slide, please. Thanks, Sean. One more.
So this information, just a quick recap on what we do in public works. They have 6 drinking water systems that we own and operate. We have 5 collection systems kind of scattered throughout DuPage, 3 regional wastewater treatment facilities, provide service to approximately 200,000 residents, mostly in the southeast portion of the county. As you'll see in the next few slides, we are working on a 20-year master plan. The first part of that was heavy with big projects in wastewater plants, mostly for aging infrastructure, regulatory requirements. Back in 2019, the board approved a resolution to borrow up to $40 million. So in the next few slides, you'll see a little bit of a deficit in our revenues and our expenditures. That explains that.
So revenue slide, as you see, overall revenues projected to be up 4.8%. Sewer revenues projected to increase by $1.1 million. That's driven by approved sewer rate increases of approximately 6%, and coupled with miscellaneous revenue from accepting septic waste and a slight overall increase in volume. Water revenues projected to increase $462,000. That's driven by improved rate increase of approximately 2.7%, with the balance from a slight increase in volume. Central admin revenue, that's projected to decrease $137,000. That's due to a combination of lower earnings on reserves due to lower interest rate environment and conservative estimate on billings for work performed for other departments and municipalities. Those are not necessarily consistent, so we just wanted to be conservative there. Next slide, please. Okay, expenditures. I'll start at the bottom. Overall expenditures are projected to increase 3.9%. As Sean alluded to with capital expenditures, that's the largest increase at about $841,000. This increase is in line with the capital improvement plan. And we'll go into more detail on specific projects when we talk about capital. Staying on the bottom section, focusing on O&M expenses, they are increasing 2.5% in total, roughly in line with inflationary expectations. Jumping to the top, sewer expenditures. We are projecting those to increase 3.8%. Personnel expenditures for the sewer department are projected to increase 6.4%. There's a couple of impacts from general wage increases. One went into effect June 1st, 2021. In our budget, we are assuming a second one effective 12/1/2021. The other impact on the personnel line in sewer and several of the other, a couple of the other departments as well. We do have higher employee benefit expenses for healthcare. The reason for that is we dug into that earlier this year. We had people who were not enrolled in healthcare enroll as their other relations lost benefits from other employers. And the second thing is we've had a number of people that stepped up. They were an individual, they stepped up to family. So people are taking advantage of the solid healthcare benefits the county provides. The third item, probably the largest in sewer, we do allocate labor from our shared services area in central admin based on where people work and projects. So there's more allocation from central admin to the sewer area. The other line items, I'll just talk about commodities, roughly in line with inflationary expectations, and contractual being pretty flat to prior year. Jumping into water. Water department expenditures are projected to increase 3.3%. This is driven by personnel category, drilling into this area. Personnel salaries are up due to filling opening budgeted positions, and also the employee benefit impact that I talked about in the sewer area. Going to central admin. This area is actually projected to decrease expenditures year over year, driven by this personnel or salary allocation that's going to sewer. If you add up all our personnel line items over all three groups, they're actually only up approximately 1% year over year. So there's some geography issues going on. Commodities are up. The largest line item there is the higher diesel and gasoline prices for our fuel stations. And then I'll just hit on contractual there. That's explained by the membership dues for the lower displays, watershed group, higher software maintenance and SaaS subscription fees as the department continues to develop, adapt new technology. Next slide, please. Okay, as Sean mentioned at the outset, we do have a gap in revenue versus expenditures, but that is I want to call it gap. It is planned in our master plan on how we're going to fund that through IEPA low interest rate loans. We did get one approved for the Nordic rehabilitation project, and that's at 1.35%. The balance will come from the planned usage of capital reserves that have been specifically set aside for capital projects. Next slide, please. On here, there's a lot of information on this slide, but at a high level, what I want to point out here is with this budget, the department's projecting that Public Works will continue to meet all debt coverage ratios and have the borrowing capacity and reserves necessary to fund the capital improvement plan in the near term. So as you can see, just focusing on other data at the bottom, cash reserves have increased according to plan over the last couple of years. We're waiting for the audit to finish, but we're projecting accounting-wise to have $15.7 million of reserves at the end of 2020. A slight decrease 2021, and then usage for capital projects in 2022.
I will say the information on this slide is important because this is what the rating agencies look at. And so we learned long ago, we kind of personally track this within ours, and the performance measures are definitely very, very good in this from a bond rating standpoint.
And even with the planned CIP spending, we're in projecting to be in a solid position at the end of 2022. Any questions before I turn it over to Sean to talk about capital?
I have one question. What about the money we receive from the state for the capital bill? Is this not included in that?
So Sean will get a little bit into that. So what Member Zay is talking about is that Public Works was lucky enough that we were earmarked about 22 million in that range. They still have to unlock it.
Okay.
And
so we won't include it until we get it.
Yeah, they still got to unlock it, but it will make a huge difference moving forward for having that money.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair? Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Thank you. I just had a question about personnel. We're hearing from a lot of other departments that they are understaffed and haven't hired vacant positions. And I see here, you get 3 levels of personnel here on the page before. How is the Public Works Department doing on personnel? Are we at capacity or are we under capacity?
Yeah, I think, our philosophy has been to we kind of do a trial run with gap hires, and it's worked well for us. If we start to notice an issue with coverage for the plants, we are 24/7, we'll fill those positions right away. We run usually about 5 or 6 light and kind of rotate that out. Like labor positions are a good stepping stone. So we're solid. We're good with personnel right now.
I will tell you a majority of our positions are union. And so every time we do a union contract, we actually do a market analysis at that time. Exactly what I talked about last week that I'd like to do for the non-union staff here at the county is do a market analysis. So we kind of reset the bar for the union members every 4 years. So we're able to still attract and retain our employees.
And you know somebody from stormwater too, right? That helped.
I think we did.
You did. Oh, okay. So you're the man.
And they admitted it.
You have good employees over there. You do have good employees. We can go to the next slide. And the next couple of slides, I'm just going to point out real quick a couple kind of big projects that we have going. The first one is the Nordic plant. It's a small wastewater treatment plant. We used a low interest EPA loan to fund that project. that's well underway. When that project's completed, we'll be in really, really good shape for the long term as far as having a brand new plant, meeting all the regulatory regulations coming down. Another one that I want to highlight is the SCADA project. That is one of the projects that was funded by the CARES Act. That puts us ahead of schedule for that project. So we'll have brand new SCADA systems throughout all of our wastewater plants, our water plants, our stormwater facilities. Really excited about getting that one done. And then on the next slide, Timber Lake's water main project. That's kind of a good story. I worked on that almost 15 years ago. Went out to bid. They couldn't afford to do it. The community couldn't do it. We were able to get a $400,000 grant to help with that. So we're moving forward with that. We got some good pricing, and we hope to have that project started within the next month or so. So that'll bring Lake Michigan water to about 30 homes out there. And that concludes the public works portion. Any questions on that?
So kind of the takeaway from public works, and only get into facilities quick, is this committee several years ago, you guys directed us to get a 20-year facility plan. It's proved extremely valuable. We are on track, ahead of schedule, under budget. Very happy where we sit financially. Capital project. I mean, we're still capital intensive in public works, but we are possibly in one of our most solid footing we've ever been in the history of our department. And a lot of, I mean, obviously all the decisions we've made here, but following a 20-year plan has been very good. So that's kind of the takeaway from public works.
I'll fly through. I have some handouts. This is kind
Thank you both so much.
This is just support. This is just kind of support information for what we had. So, we oversee about 2 million square feet of space, about 1 million square feet of deck. We have 101 employees. I'll kind of go through headcount a little bit down the road. We do a tremendous amount of work in-house based on the resources we've been given. It works out very, very well. I know because we didn't know where it came from. Kind of a summary of where we are. Headcount, we have 5 groups. We're down 30% of our maintenance techs. Just my personal opinion on that is these guys can get unemployment, they can do side work and get same or more money. That will come back with time. I'm trying to farm out work that we used to do in-house to keep up with it. The maintenance tech side of the world, we're still kind of catching up from the COVID piece with room reorgs, with creating social distancing, with plexiglass, et cetera. We're doing all right. We're down 8.5 on our housekeepers, full-time equivalents out of 38. Fortunately, that's distributed between days and nights. So we're thin on all 3 shifts. Same thing, we're working out okay there. The overtime you approved earlier today was to help from the headcount in our maintenance techs. And then I'm down to 1 station engineer, and that position is filled 5 days a week with overtime out of 7, a full-time position. Our operating budgets, this is just kind of give you some continuity. You'll see a little dip in 2020 in utilities. That was actually our water consumption was down due to COVID. Majority of our water consumption is the care center and the jail, but we did see some savings there. We have 2 increases for next year. One is leases at the Aurora elections warehouse, and then the Glendale traffic court. There's built-in increases there. The other one is wages. The 2% increase that was awarded that went into effect last month, June 1st, was not budgeted, so we have to account for that next year. And the other one is in our housekeeping staff, and I wanted to spend some time with the committee in September. With the minimum wage increase December 1st or January 1st, that affects about half of our housekeepers. Now I want to spend some more time with everybody on that one next month. We'll spend a little bit more. Other than that, from an operating perspective, it's pretty consistent. We run about 40% wages, 30% utilities, 30% contractuals and commodities. Next slide is grounds. Grounds has been pretty consistent. Our capital request last year was $126,000. The one thing I will say I'm pretty impressed with grounds is you gave us the ability to go to snow pushes last year. That's about a 30% increase in efficiency. We picked up plowing the fairgrounds all last winter due to the COVID testing that was going on there. We did with the same headcount. We were able to keep our costs about the same. So the efficiency from the equipment really made a difference for us. With respect to capital, we kind of have 3 funds. We have our capital itself, which is $270,000. That is equipment, machinery, and automotive. The largest capital we have is infrastructure. We are very grateful that about 5 years ago, we were able to roll our capital. It used to be that on December 1st, it all fell off. That has really made some efficiencies for us. Capital, we consistently ask for about $2 million a year. We're able to keep up with our routine capital. That obviously doesn't capital cover some of the larger requests. We have window replacement and some other pieces like that. I'm going to go through a little bit with you. Our care center has a separate budget. The only other piece for capital is that next month, at one of your finance committees, we will be discussing the space needs for 503. We didn't budget that because we don't have that nailed down yet. We're working on that closely, and we'll have some information for you on that. The last two pieces I want to go through with you is CARES Act and then ARPA. As I mentioned, with some of our large capital, the largest single piece we have at CARES Act, which we replaced the entire HVAC system in 505. That was original to the building in 92. We were able to also replace the entire coroner system. Those are large capital needs that with ARPA, with the CARES Act, we were able to get done instead of general fund money down the road. It worked out well. The other pieces we've covered with you in the past. Moving ahead on to ARPA. The first slide is CARES Act. I have a bigger detail of this in your handout if you want to see it. But we're asking for about $27 million for the CARES Act. Of that, $7.8 million is HVAC and air disinfection in there. Again, we're catching up on some capital needs. It's worked out very, very well. The remainder of that is the room rehabs that we're working on. We'll be giving you a detailed presentation on that in probably about 6 months. We're looking to supplement that with $1.8 million in CDBG. Activities don't fall under ARPA or CDBG. We're looking to use the Moy Foundation donation money to get that one ramped up. And then the last slide for ARPA, this is everything we're pursuing outside the care center. About 52% of that is replacing the jail HVAC and jail B pod. Again, this works out very, very well for us. Jail B and the parking deck are probably our two biggest priorities. These are larger capital items that Nick's been working with you on in the past. But care center and ARPA have been very, very helpful for us from our HP perspective to get us in a good place. So that was everything I had.
A couple quick takeaways before we come into questions. I mean, obviously, Tim said majority of his budget is utilities, contractual obligations, about 30% of it is staff. So he's very heavy on areas he can't control. You know, say we've increased it, he can't control it. I will say that from a capital standpoint, CARES Act and ARPA, if ARPA goes through, if you guys continue what we talked about and stick with that, it has been tremendous for facilities management to take up pent-up demands and most likely eliminate the need for a bond issue down the line. The $2 million price tag is kind of the running rate for capital for facilities. We are hopeful to kind of do our part for the $14 million hole this year. Is if we could, and working with finance, of maybe putting $2 million of that or a portion of that into Tim's rollover fund, we would take $2 million off the request for 2022 to be able to reduce that need. So we're hopeful. That's kind of what we're recommending if we can get that. So overall, like I said, his people have worked tremendously doing a lot of the CARES Act and now the ARPA doing it in-house, and they've done a great job. So I guess any questions at that point? We have a couple minutes maybe.
I would just like to know, and we don't have to spend time here, but I want to know the history of the South Wing of the Care Center and why that went into disrepair. But I don't want to take up everybody's time, and it's already 9:30. So who would I call to get that information from?
Actually, we owe you a presentation. If you remember at last week,
I do.
At ARPA, I think member Zay was the one who brought it up going, let's consider it.
We did.
And we're looking at it. We're looking at what the options are, and we'll give you guys a presentation on here's the history, here's how we got to where we're at, and here are the options moving forward. I know right now the care center staff is extremely busy. They have certifications going on with IDPH. And so we need them to get through that, but that's absolutely in our words to say, here's our history.
Their annual inspection started yesterday. This is their final exam every year. It's incredibly stressful.
Thank you. So we'll get a presentation. Awesome. Thank you.
And we can hope for that before the end of the year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tim. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you, Sean and Stan. Let's see, back to our agenda here. Any old business today? Okay, no old business, any new business today? Hearing none, I move that we adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everybody. All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Okay, thank you.